So let's enter into the next topic, that is anatomy of flowering plants. Anatomy is the study of internal structures. So anatomy is a branch of science which deals with the study of internal structures. Here it's clearly given we are going to study about the anatomy of flowering plants. So when you take a look into the internal structures, there may be various adaptations according to the living environment. That is also possible. And the flowering plants angiosperms show a wide range of anatomy. Let's discuss about that in detail. So the basic thing, we know every organism is made up of millions of cells. The cells of similar kind will combine to form tissue, and the tissues will group to form organ, and organs will group to form organ system. So here we are going to see about tissue and its function. Here we are going to discuss about the tissue system. When you take an internal structure, you can divide the tissue system into three groups. The first one being the epidermal tissue system. So here it is, epidermal tissue system. So second being the ground tissue system. So this will form the ground tissue system. And the third one, the vascular tissue system. So when you take anatomy of root, stem and leaf, you have three things. One is epidermal tissue system, and this is ground tissue system, and this is vascular tissue system. So let's discuss in detail about these things. So first thing is epidermal tissue system. So epidermis forms the outermost layer. So here it is. So it will form the outermost layer. The cells are compactly arranged. Without any gap it is arranged, and it is of a similar shape. Usually it is polyhedral, and the walls will be thin, made up of parenchyma cells. So the parenchyma cells, if you take, means the walls will be thin. It doesn't have a thick layer around it. The wall will be thin, and here it is compactly arranged. Sometimes the cell may give out an unicellular or multicellular structure in the form of root hair or trichome. So root hair, you know, it is present in root to absorb water, whereas this trichome, it is usually present in stem. It acts as a defense system. So when you touch some plants, you can see some stinging hair on its leaf, right? The leaf or stem, that is actually the trichome. It acts as a defense, as well as it reduces the water loss to the environment, and it will shield the plant from excess sunlight. So these are the functions of this extra appendage trichome. So extra structure, that is appendage trichome. So this is what is given. So this epidermis will be covered by a thick layer, wax layer. So this is known as cuticle. So thick wax layer called cuticle. The function of this cuticle is to prevent excessive water loss, as well as it will not allow the plant to take in more water during rain or anything. It will act as a wax coating, thus protecting the plant tissues from getting soaked in water. And main thing is it prevents excessive loss of water. When you take roots, cuticle is absent. So cuticle is mainly present in stem and leaf, and you can feel it. If you touch, if the surface is waxy, it means it has cuticle. In roots, generally cuticle is absent. And so when you take leaf, you have a special structure called stomata. Altogether it is called stomata. So this pore, stoma or stomatal pore, is covered by a kidney shaped cells called God cells, around which a special differentiated cells will be present, that is known as subsidiary cells. So altogether it is known as stomata or stomatal aperture. So it will favor the exchange of gases in and outside the plant. So through this opening, gases will enter in and gases will go out. So that is the main function. So this will also be present. So when you take a monocot, this is actually a dicot. When you take monocot, the pore will be dumbbell shape. The stomata will be dumbbell shape. When you take xerophytes, that is plants which grow in, so normally the stomata will be present like this on the outer surface, But when you take xerophytes, the plants which grow in dry area, the stomata will be sunken, will be of sunken type. That is, it is embedded inside. It will prevent excessive loss of water or water outside. And that is the main thing actually. So in the case of xerophytes, the plants which grow in a dry area, it will have sunken stomata. Normally the stomata will be present on the outer layer. Here the stomata will be sunken. So that is what is about this epidermal tissue system. The same thing, the root hairs are unicellular and elongations. On the stem, the trichomes will be present. The trichomes are multicellular. It may be either branched or unbranched. It is either soft or it may be stiffer. Sometimes they will secrete some secretions, that is mainly which act as defense mechanism. Usually the secretion will be in the form of resin. And yes, it helps in preventing the water loss due to transpiration. Excess water will be liberated out of the plant by this process transpiration, and this presence of this trichome will reduce the rate of elimination of excess water from the plant. So that is the main function of this trichome. So next one is the ground tissue system. So everything below this epidermis form the ground tissue system. Okay, everything below this form the ground tissue system. It is either made up of parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. So what is parenchyma? The cells are made up of simple, the cells are simple and it doesn't have any thick wall. Collenchyma, it has a thick wall, and the sclerenchyma, it is thicker. The wall will be very thick as it is made up of lignin, and it will act as a support tissue. So parenchyma cells are usually present in the cortex. So the region below the epidermis form the cortex. So here parenchyma cell will be present, and pericycle. So here, in this layer parenchyma cells will be there, and pith, the center region is actually pith. Here and will be parenchyma cells will be present. In the pith there will be ray-like structures. Those rays are also made up of parenchyma cells. Actually, I will say about this in detail soon. So now you have to be clear that this parenchyma cells form the cortex, pericycle, pith and medullary rays. And in the leaves, if you take leaf in the ground tissue, so in this layer in the ground tissue, chloroplast containing cells will be present. Obviously, you know, leaf perform photosynthesis, and it is due to the presence of this chloroplast, and those kind of tissue are known as mesophyll. The tissue containing thin wall chloroplast are known as mesophills. Okay, so before entering into this, we will be clear with one thing. So when you are taking the internal structure, some things will be common. So the first layer will be made of is known as epidermis. The first layer will be made of parenchyma cells, and that layer is known as epidermis. So next to the epidermis is the cortex. So this region is cortex. So the next layer to the cortex is endodermis. The region immediately below this endodermis is the pericycle, and inside you have xylem, phloem. Those are known as vascular bundles or vascular tissues. So let me draw like this. So these are vascular bundles. So how the phloem and xylem will be present, I will discuss. Now you be clear, this is the vascular tissue. So in the center there will be pith, and in the pith there will be ray-like structures, a series of parenchyma cells arranged in the form of a ray, and these are known as pith rays or medullary rays. So this is the general outline of the internal structure. So the first layer is epidermis. Next to the epidermis is cortex. So below the layer that separates the vascular bundle from the cortex is actually the endodermis. And next to the endodermis is a layer called pericycle. So inside the pericycle you will have vascular bundles. So the cells surrounding these vascular bundles are known as pith, and in the pith you can see a series of parenchyma cells arranged in the form of a ray, and these rays are known as pith rays or medullary rays. So when I explain this, it will be clear for you. So next tissue being the vascular tissue system. So you have to be clear about two things, xylem and phloem. You know that root absorbs water and leaf prepares food. So the water absorbed by the root has to reach the leaf for the purpose of photosynthesis. The water, even our body has a huge amount of water. Likewise, the plant body is also composed of great percentage of water. For that, water has to be transported to the plant, and that is done by this xylem. So it will facilitate water transport. And the food prepared in leaf has to reach other parts of the plant, and that is done by this phloem. So it facilitates food transport. So both does some transport duty. So it transports water and phloem transports food. So these are known as vascular bundles. So xylem and phloem are together known as vascular bundles. Xylem facilitates water transport throughout the plant body, and phloem facilitates food transport throughout the plant body. So if you take dicot, the plant with two cotyledons, so there will be a structure called cambium in between the xylem and phloem. So if you take dicot, you know neem plant, so let's take neem tree as an example. You know how big it is. So when you compare a small neem plant, the big tree is entirely different, and its stem is also hard. So there occurs some secondary growth, and that is because of this cambium. So in between phloem and xylem there will be a structure called cambium, and that facilitates secondary growth. So what is this secondary growth? Usually there is a tissue called meristematic tissue. So there is a tissue called meristematic tissue. When I use the word meristematic, it means those cells are capable of doing active cell division. So when a cell divides, the number of cells will increase, as well as it will increase in the increases the breadth or height of the plant. So here this cambium cell is actually, cambium consists of meristematic cells that is capable of doing division. So once the plant is about to do its secondary growth, this cambium will become active and start to divide. That is what is converting the tender neem stem into a hard woody bark. So there occurs a secondary growth, and that is done by cambium. Whereas this cambium is absent in monocot. You know grass, it is not growing after a certain limit, and its stem is also not as woody as a dicot plant, right? Not as woody as a neem tree. It's because the cambium is absent, and those plants are not able to do the secondary growth. So this is an important structure, and it is present in between xylem and phloem. That structure is known as cambium. So I said in dicot cambium is present, in monocot cambium is absent. So when the cambium is present, those vascular bundles are known as open vascular bundles. When the cambium is absent, it is known as closed vascular bundles. So here in this bundle you can see phloem and xylem occur together. In the case of dicot, it is separated by cambium. In the case of monocot, it is not separated by cambium. So this kind of vascular bundles in which xylem and phloem occur together are known as conjoint vascular bundle. So when xylem and phloem occur together, it is known as conjoint vascular bundle. In the case of this, you can see phloem and xylem are separated and they are arranged in some pattern. This kind of arrangement is known as radial vascular bundle. So when xylem and phloem are arranged separately in pattern, that is known as radial vascular bundle. When xylem and phloem are occurring together in a bundle, that is known as conjoint. Conjoint means something together, right? So here phloem and xylem are occurring together and that is known as conjoint vascular bundle.